Beware sweet temptations. The full moon peeked out from the clouds and a cool mist floated down the street. Trick-or-treaters were out in droves collecting candy in their oversized bags. Shadows created ominous nooks for something to jump out at unwitting children. It created the perfect atmosphere for Halloween. 3 of the trick-or-treaters moved about, their laughter echoing in the distance. Bobby adjusted his costume, excited about his favorite holiday, Halloween. Jose and Rachel joined him on his quest to collect sweet nuggets of goodness. They ambled through the streets, trying to decide their next stop. Jose pointed towards a corner of the neighborhood that they usually avoided. Hey, have you guys heard about the old house down Trail Ridge? Rachel replied, You mean the haunted one? Yeah, Jose said, they give out the biggest candy bars. But no one really goes there. Too spooky, replied Bobby. Jose, with mischief evident in his eyes, smirked, exactly. Which means more candy for us. We should totally go. Bobby hesitated. The house Jose was referring to was an old, run-down place, rumored to be haunted. Yet, the allure of big candy bars was too tempting. You sure, Jose? He questioned. Before he could respond, Rachel, always the voice of reason, jumped in. Bobby's right. That house is off limits. Besides, we've got plenty of candy already. Jose leaned in closer, lowering his voice for effect. Come on, guys. Think about it. Imagine the legend we'd become. The brave trio that dared to visit that house on Halloween night. His enthusiasm was contagious. Bobby looked at Rachel. Okay, he sighed, let's do it. But we stick together, all right? Rachel nodded, and the 3 set off down the street. The street lamps seemed to dim as they approached the infamous house. Bobby turned on the camping lantern he brought to help guide their way on this special night. A chilling wind rustled the dry leaves on the ground, and an eerie blue glow surrounded it. The wrought iron gate of the house creaked as Jose pushed it open. As they walked the path leading to the entrance, Bobby felt a growing unease. But the thought of being one of the brave few to knock on its doors and receive those legendary candy bars spurred him on. He could almost taste the sweet victory. They hesitated at the doorstep, the intimidating facade of the old house towering above them. Tall windows with half-shuttered windows seemed to watch them like suspicious eyes. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea, Rachel murmured, gripping her candy bag tightly. Just as Bobby was about to second that sentiment, Jose boldly rapped with the weathered brass knocker. A prolonged silence followed. Each second felt like an eternity. Just as they turned to leave, the door slowly creaked open, revealing an old woman. It was her eyes that they all noticed first. Red-tinted eyes. Must be contacts, Bobby thought. She really gets into Halloween. Dressed in long flowing black robes, her hair was long and white as snow. Well, she crooned with a slight smile, we rarely get trick-or-treaters here. What can I offer you brave souls? Seeing her seemingly benign demeanor, their initial apprehension began to wane. Rachel managed a hesitant smile, trick or treat. She turned around and retrieved 3 candy bars, each ornately wrapped, tied with a string, and with a strange symbol on them. They were the largest the children had ever seen. Handing them over, she said, Enjoy, dear children. But remember, every treat comes with its own story. The candy bars felt heavy with promise. Thanking the old woman, they backed away from the house. The door slowly shut behind them, leaving them with a mixture of. Jose let out a whoop, breaking the silence. I told you guys it'd be worth it. Look at these. He held up his candy bar, admiration evident in his eyes. Rachel, however, was contemplative. Did you notice her eyes? They were creepy. Bobby nodded in agreement. Yeah, and what did she mean by, every treat comes with its own story? Jose, ever the dismissive one, laughed it off. Come on, guys, it's just candy. Let's head back and enjoy our winnings. As they left Trail Ridge and the ominous house behind, Bobby couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that they might have just made a grave mistake. They reconvened in Rachel's backyard, with a camping lantern casting shadows upon their faces. The ambience was perfect for their post-trick-or-treating candy feast. The old wooden picnic table became their altar of sugar. The lantern, now on the picnic table, lit their prizes from the night. The large bar that was wrapped in a gold foil and held together by a string was too tempting. I dare you to take the first bite, Rachel teased Jose, her eyebrows arching playfully. Never one to back down from a challenge, Jose unwrapped his candy bar with theatrical flair, taking a big bite, and then closing his eyes to savor the experience. This is heavenly, he proclaimed, his voice a mix of surprise and delight. Rachel and Bobby exchanged glances and, succumbing to temptation, opened their bars. The chocolate was dark, rich, and melted in their mouths, with layers of caramel and nougat adding to the complexity of flavors. But there was a little something else there deepening their enjoyment. It was unlike anything they'd ever tasted. As the night wore on, they were engrossed in a sugary euphoria. Swapping tales of Halloween past and present, their laughter echoed in the cool autumn air. Yet, as the clock ticked and the sugar rush reached its peak, a strange sensation began to overtake them. An unsettling queasiness bubbled in the pit of their stomachs. Bobby tried to dismiss it as overindulgence, but the feeling intensified. Jose clutched his belly, his face contorting in discomfort. Ugh, I think I ate too much, he groaned. Rachel's face had turned pale. Something feels wrong, she whispered, her voice shaky. The three looked at the wrappers of the ornate candy bars. The design on the wrapper now seemed menacing, concealing dark secrets within its intricate patterns. The laughter and joy of the evening rapidly evaporated, replaced by a heavy atmosphere of dread. The lantern began to flicker erratically, casting dancing shadows that seemed to mock our growing unease. As the first pangs of real pain began, they realized this wasn't just a sugar overload. Something else was happening. And as the transformations began, their laughter and camaraderie twisted into a nightmare. The once calming glow of the lantern now shone blue and cast grotesque shadows on the ground, exaggerating their every movement. A chilling breeze rustled the leaves, creating a haunting symphony that added to their rising panic. Jose was the first to show the drastic changes. His head began to elongate, with sharp claws erupting from the tips. His teeth grew and fur covered his body. His eyes glowed a vibrant yellow. He tried to speak, but all that emerged was a guttural growl, the voice of something wild and feral. Rachel's transformation was equally horrifying. Her skin took on a pale, almost translucent quality. Ethereal wings sprouted from her back, shimmering under the lantern light. Her feet morphed into large sharp talons. Her beautiful eyes now had an iridescent glow. Bobby felt an agonizing pain in his back of something tearing through his back. Turning his head, he saw large scales erupting through his costume. His vision tinted red, and a profound hunger, an insatiable craving, overtook his senses. They were no longer the close-knit trio, the best of friends. They had become grotesque monsters, unfamiliar and terrifying to one another. Their transformations were not just physical, their minds were being affected too, filled with paranoia and aggression. Jose, now more beast than boy, lunged at Rachel. But with her newfound agility, she took to the air, narrowly avoiding his sharp claws. Bobby felt an instinctual urge to join the fray, his short arms tearing at his companions. The backyard echoed with their resounded with monstrous roars and the clash of supernatural beings. The chaos was punctuated by the flickering lantern, which seemed to be dying out, plunging them into an intermittent darkness. As they battled, their minds fought to hold on to the remnants of their humanity. Flashes of memories, of birthdays, school days, shared secrets, would briefly break through the monstrous rage, only to be swallowed once more by their new, overwhelming instincts. But as the night wore on and their energies waned, a new sound began to cut through the din of our conflict, a soft, eerie lullaby, sung by a voice both ancient and chillingly familiar. The old woman. Her song had a hypnotic quality, and one by one, their aggression subsided. They turned towards its source, drawn irresistibly to the haunting melody. The old woman emerged from the mist and stood at the edge of the backyard. Rachel, hovering just above the ground, was the first to drift towards the old woman, her wings fluttering in time with the melody. Jose, with a subdued growl, moved next, each step heavy but deliberate. Bobby followed, swaying gently, like a serpent charmed by a flute. The three of them, now standing in front of the old woman, felt an overwhelming compulsion to listen, to obey. She halted her song and looked each of them in the eye, the depth of her gaze hinting at centuries of wisdom and dark secrets. She gestured towards her house, the once run-down building now shimmering with the same blue ethereal glow they'd noticed earlier. Every year, I need new protectors to keep me safe from the others. Every year, I need to replace those that perished in the fight. Now, come. They took their posts around the old building, their new home, standing as its monstrous guardians.
Subscribe, like, and comment. Watch these videos next.